There are mysteries in human history that refuse to fade. Stories that cling to the imagination, haunting us like echoes in the wind. Among these mysteries, one stands apart. A people who once lived, thrived, and walked the earth, and then vanished. No bodies, no ruins, no graves, only silence. This is the mystery of the lost tribe that vanished without a trace. Before we begin our journey, let me invite you to join us here on Voices of the Earth. If you love stories of ancient cultures, forgotten civilizations, and legends that defy explanation, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and hit the notification bell. Your support keeps these stories alive and ensures that the voices of the past are never forgotten. Now, let us step back into time and follow the whispers of a tribe that disappeared. Long before skyscrapers filled the skyline, long before cars roared across highways, long before cities stretched as far as the eye could see, this land, North America, was alive with hundreds of nations. Nations we call Native American tribes, each with their own languages, their own traditions, their own sacred songs, dances, and stories. They did not see themselves as separate from the earth. They were the earth. The rivers were their blood. The mountains were their bones. The forests were their breath. Every part of the world was alive with spirit, and to live was to walk in balance with that spirit. But history is not always kind. Over centuries, these nations faced destruction, some from war, some from famine, some from diseases brought by settlers, and some, according to both colonial records and indigenous oral traditions, did something stranger. They disappeared, vanished, not killed in battle, not absorbed by neighbors, but gone, leaving behind empty villages, abandoned fires, unfinished tools. Life interrupted, life erased. Explorers and missionaries often wrote of meeting a group, a village, a tribe. But when they returned months or years later, the people were gone. The land was empty. Sometimes, neighboring tribes would shrug and say, "They left." But where? To the north? To the south? Into the mountains? Into the spirit world? There were no clear answers. Only whispers. Only silence. To understand this mystery, we remember another tale. The story of Roanoke. In the late 1500s, English colonists settled on Roanoke Island. But when a supply ship returned, the colony was empty. No bodies, no graves, no sign of struggle. Only one word carved into a tree: Croton. The fate of Roanoke remains unsolved. Though not a native tribe, its disappearance mirrors what indigenous oral traditions describe: an entire people, gone, without explanation, without a trace. Archaeological surveys across North America confirm that some settlements were abandoned suddenly. Homes left with tools still inside, pottery half-formed, bones of animals near fire pits. But no human remains, no graves, no signs of mass death. It was as though the people simply stood up one day and walked away. In many native traditions, the forest is alive, not just wood and leaves, but a being, a force, a keeper of secrets. Legends tell of entire groups who followed voices into the woods. They followed lights at night. They followed a song on the wind. They followed, and they never returned. The forest consumed them, or so the stories say. In other legends, rivers are doorways, passages between this world and the next. There are tales of tribes who followed glowing figures across the river. At night, they stepped into the current, singing farewell songs. By morning, the village was empty. Only footprints remained, leading into the water. Had they drowned? Had they migrated? Or had they crossed into another world? Colonial records, oral traditions, archaeological remains. Together, they tell the same story. Not all tribes were destroyed. Not all tribes were conquered. Not all tribes died. Some simply vanished. Their stories survive as whispers, their memory as mystery, and their absence as one of the greatest puzzles in history. Among Native American nations, oral tradition is the heartbeat of memory. It is not written in books. It is not carved in stone. It is spoken, sung, and shared. It is the firelight voice of a grandmother, the chant of a medicine man, the stories whispered to children as the night grows long. And within these traditions, there are tales of tribes that are no longer here, tribes that lived once, and then walked away, tribes that vanished, but their memory survives in legend. Among the Lakota, there are stories of the Kanatala, the little forest dwellers, spirits of the woods. They are half-seen shadows, quick and silent, slipping between the trees. Sometimes they appear to travelers, sometimes they call, and sometimes entire groups follow. The stories say there were those who entered the forest with the Kanatala. They never came back, gone, as if swallowed by the woods themselves. Were these just warnings to children? Or were they fragments of memory, echoes of a tribe that disappeared? The Navajo people believe in many worlds. The one we live in is not the only one. It is only one layer of reality. And in their traditions, there are stories of tribes who crossed between worlds, guided by visions, guided by spirit beings. One story tells of a people who entered a canyon at night. They followed a glowing figure. On the other side of the canyon, they were gone, not dead, not defeated, but alive in another world, a parallel realm, forever beyond our reach. The Hopi believe that our world is not the first. It is not even the second. We are living in the fourth world, and one day it too will end. In Hopi stories, when a tribe disappears, it does not mean death. It means they were taken into the earth, into the caverns below. They are waiting, preparing, for the next world that will come. To vanish, in this belief, is not tragedy. It is destiny. The Cherokee tell of the Nunahai, mysterious spirit people who live in the mountains. They look human, they act human, but they are not. They are guardians, they are protectors, and sometimes they are guides. When danger comes, when tribes face destruction, the Nunahai appear. They offer a choice. Follow us into the mountains. Leave this world behind. Some stories say entire villages accepted. They followed the Nunahai, and they vanished. From the Lakota in the northern plains, to the Navajo in the deserts of the southwest, to the Hopi in Arizona, to the Cherokee in the southeast forests. The pattern is the same. Legends of people who walked away, legends of nations that crossed into another realm, legends of tribes that disappeared. Each story is different, but the theme is always the same. They are gone, And no one knows why. Are these just myths? Are they only symbolic stories of loss? Or are they fragments of memory? Memory of tribes that really did vanish, retold in the language of legend. When the Lakota speak of hidden forest dwellers. When the Navajo speak of crossings. When the Hopi speak of worlds below. When the Cherokee speak of spirit walkers. They may be describing real events. Events we no longer understand. Events that left only whispers behind. These stories were not only entertainment. They were warnings. They carried fear. Do not follow strange lights into the forest. Do not cross rivers at night when voices call. Do not trust every traveler who looks human. Because vanishing was always possible. It was always a danger. To disappear was not just a legend. It was a real fear that lived in the minds of the people. And so, the legends live on. They are remembered in songs, in ceremonies, in the words of elders. They are reminders that some mysteries never die. Because even if the people vanished, their stories did not. Their voices remain, carried by the earth, carried by the wind, carried by the people who still speak their names. Mystery fuels the imagination, but history always seeks explanations. And when it comes to vanished tribes, historians have proposed many. Some are simple, some are brutal, and some reveal just how fragile human life truly is. When Europeans arrived in the Americas, they carried invisible weapons. Smallpox, measles, influenza, plague, diseases unknown to the native peoples, diseases for which there was no immunity. Entire villages could be wiped out in a single season. A sickness would sweep through, leaving the dead behind. Survivors, if there were any, sometimes abandoned their homes, unable to bury their own. Imagine an explorer returning months later. The fires cold, the tools untouched, the homes silent, no people, only emptiness. It would look like vanishing. It would feel like a mystery. But the truth would be far crueler. Another explanation is war. The history of North America was filled with conflict. Tribes fought for territory, resources, and honor. Some battles were small. Others were devastating. Sometimes, an entire community could be destroyed in a raid. But here lies the problem. War leaves signs. Weapons, mass graves, burned villages. In many abandoned settlements, these signs are missing. There is no battle, no ashes, no dead, only silence. And silence is harder to explain. Another possibility is assimilation. Smaller tribes sometimes merged with larger ones, for survival, for protection, or because their numbers had dwindled. Over time, the smaller tribes' name vanished. Their language faded. Their traditions blended. To the outside world, it looked like disappearance. But in truth, their blood lived on, hidden within another nation. The tribe was not gone, only transformed. But to outsiders, the effect was the same. A vanished people. There were also times when tribes were forced to leave. By enemies, by drought, by hunger, by changing landscapes. Villages left behind were not necessarily abandoned forever. The people simply moved. But sometimes they never returned. And centuries later, the memory of where they went was lost. To outsiders, it looked like vanishing. but it was movement, migration, survival. Modern archaeology tries to untangle these mysteries. Excavations reveal sudden abandonments, yet the cause is often unclear. Was it war? Was it disease? Was it migration? The absence of evidence becomes the greatest evidence of all. Because when a people disappears without leaving traces, the silence itself becomes a clue. For many vanished tribes, the explanation may be tragic but ordinary. Disease, war, assimilation, migration. But even if these answers explain some cases, they do not explain them all. There remain villages where tools are left mid-use, where fires are extinguished but meals remain, where the people are simply gone. No bodies, no graves, no signs of struggle, only absence. And absence is the hardest mystery of all. Historians seek facts. Elders preserve stories. The two do not always agree, yet both carry truth. Maybe the lost tribes vanished from disease. Maybe they merged with neighbors. Maybe they migrated and their path was forgotten. But maybe, just maybe, there are things history cannot measure, things archaeology cannot explain, things legend remembers better than science. And that is where the mystery lives. History offers explanations, but legend offers possibilities. And for many, the stories of vanished tribes cannot be explained by war, or disease, or migration alone. There is something stranger, something deeper, something mystical. Among many nations, the forest was alive, not just with animals, but with spirits, guardians, tricksters, voices that whispered in the night. Some stories tell of tribes that followed these voices. They left their villages, they entered the forest, and they never returned. The forest did not kill them. The forest claimed them. In Navajo traditions, the world we see is not the only one. It is only one layer. There are worlds above, worlds below, worlds beside us, invisible. Some believe tribes vanished because they crossed into these other worlds. A canyon became a doorway. A river became a threshold. A cave became a passage. One step, and they were gone. Not destroyed, not lost, but living on in a world just beyond our reach. Other stories speak of curses. Sacred lands, once violated, demand a price. A village that builds too close. A tribe that hunts in forbidden places. The land itself responds. Storms, plagues, or a sudden vanishing. The people are erased as punishment. The land reclaims what was taken. The Cherokee tell of the Nunahai, spirit guardians, not human but close enough. They protect the sacred mountains, and sometimes they choose to rescue. When a tribe faced destruction, the Nunahai appeared. They offered an escape. Follow us. Leave this world. Many accepted, and in doing so vanished forever. To outsiders it was disappearance. To the tribe it was salvation. Some nations speak of songs carried on the wind. At night, a melody would drift across the village. Soft, inviting, irresistible. The people would follow the sound into the darkness. And when the morning came, the village was empty. The song had taken them away. In the plains, there are stories of the shadow people, figures glimpsed at the edge of vision, never fully seen. never fully gone. They are watchers. They are takers. Sometimes they steal individuals. Sometimes entire groups. A tribe vanishes because the shadows claim them. To this day, some say the shadow people remain, watching, waiting. For many indigenous traditions, life does not end in death. The spirit continues, and sometimes the spirit world calls, not just individuals, but entire nations. To vanish, in this belief, is not tragedy. It is a return, a migration of the soul. The lost tribes were not lost. They were called home. When we hear these stories, we may doubt. We may say they are only legends, only superstition. But what if legends hold truth? What if the boundaries between worlds are thinner than we think? What if rivers really are thresholds? What if forests really do consume? What if songs on the wind can take us away? Then the mystery of the vanished tribes is not only history, it is possibility. The past is never completely silent. It leaves clues. It leaves fragments. It leaves whispers for us to find. And in the case of the vanished tribes, archaeology and anthropology have uncovered pieces of the puzzle. But the puzzle is far from complete. In abandoned villages, archaeologists have found tools left behind. Stone knives, arrowheads, grinding stones used to prepare food, all left as if their owners intended to return. But they never did. Pottery sits unfinished. Cooking fires are extinguished, but not cleared. Objects of daily life, frozen in time. It is as if the people stepped away for a moment and never came back. On canyon walls, petroglyphs remain. Carvings of animals, figures of spirits, symbols whose meanings we still struggle to understand. Were they warnings? Were they farewells? Or were they simply stories, carved to outlive their makers? The truth is uncertain, but the silence around them is loud. Modern scholars propose natural explanations. Some suggest prolonged droughts forced entire nations to leave. Others argue famine drove people into unknown lands. Still others point to assimilation, absorption, or migration. Each theory answers something, but none answers everything. Because for some sites, there is no sign of migration, no path of survival, no trail to follow. Only absence. Perhaps the strangest clue of all is the absence of bones. When disease destroys a people, bones remain. When war destroys a people, bones remain. But in many abandoned settlements, human remains are rare. The people are gone, but their bodies are missing. This is the mystery that science cannot easily explain. Modern anthropologists have begun to take oral tradition more seriously. For centuries, indigenous stories were dismissed as superstition. But now, researchers recognize that oral histories preserve real events. Legends of floods often align with geological evidence of floods. Legends of migrations often match archaeological discoveries. So when multiple nations speak of tribes that vanished, perhaps we should listen. Perhaps oral memory carries truths that science cannot yet measure. Today, archaeologists continue to dig. Anthropologists continue to record. Historians continue to argue. And elders continue to tell stories. Piece by piece, the puzzle grows. But the picture is never complete. There are still questions without answers. Still villages without explanations. Still tribes remembered only as whispers. The modern world hungers for certainty. Science seeks closure. But not all stories give closure. Some remain open. Some remain unresolved. And maybe that is why the mystery of the lost tribe endures. Because it is not only about history. It is about possibility. It is about the unknown. And the unknown is what draws us in. The story of the lost tribe is more than history. It is more than legend. It is more than mystery. It is all of these together. A people once walked this land. They lived. They hunted. They sang. They told stories around the fire. And then one day they were gone. Not defeated. Not buried. Not remembered in stone. Only remembered in whispers. When a people vanishes, what remains? Tools left behind. Symbols carved into stone. Stories passed down through generations. And silence. Always silence. The silence of abandoned villages. The silence of unanswered questions. The silence of mysteries that refuse to fade. Perhaps they were lost to disease. Perhaps they were destroyed by war. Perhaps they merged with other tribes. Perhaps they migrated to unknown lands. Or perhaps they crossed into another world. Perhaps the legends are true. Perhaps the songs of the wind, the guardians of the mountains, the spirits of the forest, really did call them away. We may never know. And maybe that is the point. We live in a world of answers. A world of explanations. A world where science solves mysteries every day. But some mysteries endure. And the story of the lost tribe endures because it asks questions we cannot answer. What happens when a people disappears? What happens when memory fades? What happens when the earth reclaims its children? The mystery endures because it speaks to something deeper than history. It speaks to the human soul. The voices of the lost are not gone. They echo in the forests. They echo in the rivers. They echo in the mountains. They echo in the stories we tell today. And by telling their story, we keep them alive. They are not forgotten. They are not truly lost. They are with us. In every whisper of the wind. In every shadow of the trees. In every silence that makes us wonder. The lost tribe that vanished without a trace may never be found. The truth may remain hidden forever. But perhaps truth is not the goal. Perhaps memory is the goal. To remember that they lived. To remember that they mattered. To remember that even in silence, their voices still call to us. And to remember that history is fragile. That what is here today may be gone tomorrow. That what we take for granted can vanish. And all that remains are stories. Stories that keep the past alive. If you felt the mystery, if you heard the whispers, if you want to keep these voices alive, then help us. Give this video a like, subscribe to Voices of the Earth, and ring the notification bell so you never miss the stories that time tried to erase. Share this with someone who loves history, with someone who loves mysteries, with someone who listens to the earth. Because here, we bring the past back to life, one story at a time. What do you think happened to the lost tribe? Were they taken by disease? Destroyed by war? Absorbed by neighbors? Or did they cross into the spirit world, as the legends say? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your voice. Because together, we can keep the voices of the earth alive. Thank you for watching. And until next time, Listen closely, for the earth still speaks.